Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Battle. I am your host tonight. Of course, I'm the host every night. I don't know. I'm losing it today, but my co-host tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King, Penn State Collegiate Hockey All-Star, Kevin Adams from Steelers Nation South, Rollo Coffin. Our show tonight is the greatest Lake Superior State University Lakers hockey player. So we're talking Lakers, not LA. We're going to Michigan for this one. We are joined by a former Laker who spent 16 years in the NHL playing for several teams, including the New Jersey Devils, where he won a Stanley Cup, three Canadian teams. We could, debate whether that was good or not all day. And of course, the expansion,
Four.
four Canadian teams. Okay. And the expansion Minnesota Wild, which I'm going to have a question about that later.
You want to
He's a
get
two-way.
technical? I think it was six Canadian teams, two in the minors.
There you go. He is a two-way center. His play picked him up Selke votes in the 02-03 season there. So we want to welcome Jim Dowd. Jim, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. And you got to represent, right? Check that out.
There you go. That's right. Very nice. I like the blue. That's why I wore the blue today, the royal blue.
Yep. There you go.
So our honorable mention tonight, the player who just missed our list is going to be Dougie Waite. And as always, we're going to have a Q&A for Jim about his career after this. So let's jump in. We'll start with Kevin. Who is your player?
Yeah, so I'm representing Sean Tallaire. Unfortunately, sadly, he passed about a year ago, March of 2024. But he played for Lake Superior from 92 to 96. He was selected into the NHL in the 202nd overall pick, 8th round by the Vancouver Canucks back in 93. In his collegiate career, he put up over 20 goals in his first 3 seasons and over 30 goals in his senior year. He averaged over a point a game in all 4 seasons. His average point per game was 1.22. In his freshman year, he scored 26 goals and 26 assists. Sophomore year, 23 goals, 32 assists. Junior year, 21 goals, 28 assists. And then the senior year, he went off, put it over 30 goals. He got 32 with 18 assists. He was also a vital member of the 1994 NCAA championship team, where he also won tournament MVP, leading his team to the title that year. He shattered school records. He ended his career at Lake Superior with 207 career points, which actually ranks him 4th as of now. He had the second most goals ever scored by a Laker at 103, only behind our guest here. And he had 104 assists. And then a nice stat, he had a Phil Kessel-like stat. He played 171 consecutive games. This man had great work ethic, leadership. He earned a well-deserved spot in the LSSU Athletics Hall of Fame in 2021. He definitely has an argument to be one of the best players for that university.
But when you said Phil Kessel stat, I thought you were going to say something about hot dogs there for a second. All right. Jim, I know he came right after you. I'm sure, though, you kept up with school. You're very familiar with him. He was a fantastic goal scorer, and I think his goals per game is actually the best on the team, if I'm recalling in history. So what are your thoughts on him as a player?
Yeah, everybody knows when you think of Lake State, his name is one of the one that pops up. You know, we had that great run of, 10 to 12 years there, and he was a huge part of that right after, I graduated there in 91 or whatever it was. But as you can see right off the bat, his freshman year, I'm at 52 points in 43 games, over a point a game. That's not easy to do back in the old CCHA. And just had a great career and God rest his soul, right now, prayers to him and his family. But then he had a great little, played a wild pro hockey, went over to the DEHL, which not another easy league to play in. And he put up numbers everywhere he went. You know what I mean? I think he missed the if he came out of college these days, he'd be in the NHL. You know what I mean? Hockey was a little different back then. You know what I mean? But just a great career, a Laker for 4 years, which is always great to see, graduated. And again, definitely one of the top players to come out of Lake State.
I actually got to correct myself. He was actually behind Randy MacArthur. Jim Dowd, you have the highest points for Lake Superior. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. So that makes him look even a little better there. He outscored Jim. So Kevin, you just in goals. So Kevin, you mentioned Jim Dowd. So let's go to our second player. Brian, go ahead.
All right. Jim Dowd played at center for Lake Superior for all 4 seasons of eligibility, the 87-88 season until the 90-91 season. 6'1", 190 pounds. In Dowd's freshman season of 87-88, he was able to score 18 goals and record 27 assists for a total of 45 points in 45 games. So point per game, definitely very respectable. In the postseason, he helped the team win it all, culminating in a 4-3 OT thriller over St. Lawrence. Dowd's sophomore year took another step forward, ending the season with 59 points in 46 games. Helped the Lakers advance to the quarterfinals. As a junior, Dowd's offensive production really exploded. 25 goals, 67 assists for a total of 92 points. That's exactly 2 per game. And that was good for second place in the nation and is still the 29th highest single season total in college hockey history. His assist total is the 4th highest in college hockey history, and he was named second team All-American and again pushed the Lakers to the quarterfinals. His final collegiate season, he stayed rather hot. 24 goals, 54 assists for a total of 78 points, 7th highest in the nation. Another trip to the quarterfinals for the Lakers. Of all the all those assists, kind of tells me that Dowd, unselfish player, willing to dish the puck to open teammates. And the fact that the Lakers won it all, again, 1 season after his graduation, that tells me that he was likely setting a good example for some of the younger players on his team.
Jim, you had goal scoring, playmaking ability. When you got to the NHL, you were a two-way center. Were you also doing that in college, or was it just let's score as many points as we can get?
No, Lake State was great. But I came there at the perfect time. It was perfect for me in my life. Back in the day, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm 56 years old. Back in the day, if you weren't from Massachusetts, Minnesota, Chicago, or Michigan, they didn't even look at you. You know what I mean? I had one school take a chance on me, Lake State. I tell kids these days and all that, I do nutrition and performance mindset coaching for youth athletes. And I tell them, you just need one person to like you. For me, that was Lake State back in the day. And it was great there. Frank Anzalone and Jeff Jackson and Jim Rock, my freshman year, sophomore, junior year were the coaches. Then my senior year, Jackson took over. It was Jim Rock and Ron Ralston, but they just preached, play hockey the right way, And I learned when I was younger. I was blessed to have some really good coaches that, taught me, a great shift is, catching somebody on the back check. And somebody taught me when I was a peewee, like, hey, face-offs are a big part of hockey, so I always worked on that. And then, you want to pride yourself. You want to be out there, not just on the power play, but penalty kill, when you're up a goal at the end of the game, when you're down a goal at the end of the game, you want to be out there in every situation, And again, I just love every second of my 4 years at Lake State. The Devils tried to get me to sign after my junior year. It took me literally less than 10 seconds to decide, I wanted to go back. I loved it there. I wanted to win another national championship. I wanted to graduate. And I don't know if you guys know this, but my senior year, that was probably the best team Lake State ever had. We went 28 straight games. 28 straight games without a loss. And we got upset in the quarterfinals. It happens. But, that was the best team we had. It was unbelievable. That was a devastating loss there. But, I just pride myself on being a good all-around player. And then I came into the pro hockey as a scorer, but, could kill penalties and all that. And then I got up to the NHL. And then for me to stick, I had to figure out how to stick. You know what I mean? A lot of guys quit when they're 23, 24, 25. They're not in the top 6 anymore. I'm like, I don't care what I do. I'm going to figure out how to stick in the NHL. You know what I mean? And I stuck around, played till I was 40 because I could kill penalties, take face-offs. I wouldn't complain if I was on a third or fourth line. And if the first or second line center got hurt, I could fill in no problem. So, and it didn't hurt that Doug Waite was the first blue chip recruit we ever got at Lake State. A lot of people don't know this, but normally those guys like Doug Waite would go to Michigan or Michigan State back in the day. My junior year, that he was the first blue chip recruit we ever got, and that he was great for my career. We just hit it off right off the bat. I was a center, he was a center, but we were on the power play together, and we dominated.
So who was the recipient of most of those assists?
Jeff Naparella. And his story is amazing. I mean, what did he have? 37 goals his senior year. He played in 7 games his freshman year. He wasn't even supposed. I got a great Lake State story for you guys. He was still my best friend to this day. And then his freshman year, his parents never missed one game all 4 years. He never played his freshman year. Maybe dressed, I think, in 7 games. Didn't even play. Sophomore year, it was supposed to be me, Sandy Moger and Pete Stauber to start the season out, and Jeff Naparella was the odd man out, wasn't even supposed to be in the lineup. Sandy Moger breaks his wrist the week before opening weekend. Coach puts Jeff Naparella on my line with Pete Stauber against Michigan State opening weekend. Look it up. He scores, I think, 3 or 4 goals, and the rest is history. And then he just took off. That's why you always got to be ready. You never know when your time's coming. And he was just a great teammate, great kid, and we had that type of culture there in Lake State. You know, it didn't matter. Like, we never even talked about points and all that kind of stuff. We just loved having a blast up in the Sioux, winning hockey games and having fun.
Rollo, are you ready?
I'm here. There's something wrong with my camera, so.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
So I got Darrin Madeley, born in Holland Landing, Ontario. He played junior hockey for the Richmond Hill Dines, but he went on to Lake Superior State and was a 3-year starter from '89 to '92. His first season as a starter, he went 21-7-1 with a goals against average of 2.42 and a 91% save percentage, helping the Lakers go to the NCAA tournament before losing to Colgate. The next season, the Lakers would go 36-5-4, winning the CCHA Conference Tourney and regular season chip. And he went 29-3-3 with a 2.61 goals against average. The Lakers again would win the CCHA regular season chip and conference chip in 91-92, with Madeley posting a career best 1.93 goals against average with 2 shutouts. And he won 23 games that year. He is the all-time leader in wins with 73 games with a 2.34 goals against average and 4 career shutouts. He would go undrafted but spend the 92-94 season with the Senators. But he is first all-time in wins, like I mentioned before, and he was inducted to the Lakers Hall of Fame in 2018.
And 2 other Laker goalies. It was hard to decide which one was Ron Mason and Jeff Chikaitis. So Madeley here. Jim, tell us about him. A fantastic goalie. He was there during your time period. How good was he for you guys?
Oh, Darrin Madeley, man, he was one of the best. It's just, I still cringe at that 91-92 year. You know what I mean? You know, or no, 90-91, right? I went 87, 88, 89, 90-91 was my senior year, and he wishes he had that last weekend back, because then the next year, man, he was the best goalie in the country. He was one of the best goalies in the country my senior year as well. But he was a great teammate too, man. He came in right from day one and just took the reins, and you know, because we had Bruce Hoffert my freshman and sophomore year, and Bruce Hoffert, guys, he was unbelievable. And Darrin Madeley was one of those guys. He signed that $1 million deal guaranteed coming out of college, which was huge. That's why he didn't come back his senior year. But just a kid that showed up every day and just again, a great teammate both on and off the ice, and doing a great job at Lake Forest for the last 20 years, running that whole program there. I still talk to him to this day. You know what I mean? I help him get kids over there, but he's great. He's a Laker through and through, that's for sure. Another good choice.
Didn't he end up on the Blackhawks? Is it the Blackhawks, I'm thinking? Chicago drafted him? I think it was Chicago.
No. He was signed by a free agent by the Senators.
Senators,
right?
Okay.
You know, yeah. He played
Red and black. I was in the area.
39 games in the NHL total, and then he was over in the AHL, the IHL, went to a little bit in Europe, and then just, you know, said, okay, I'm going to move on with my life. You know,
I just remember having his card, and I just remember the red and black on it. That's why I went with Chicago. But anywho, our last player today is our only defenseman. That is Keith Aldridge. And when I put this list together and, you know, we were picking what we were picking, I originally picked Doug Waite. And when I started doing my research, I had to switch, and I had to take Keith Aldridge. He is the greatest defenseman in school history. For 4 seasons in the 90s, he was dominant. 139 points in 160 games. That's as a defenseman. And being named the CCHA Best Offensive Defenseman in the 95-96 season. He helped lead the Lakers to an NCAA championship in the 93-94 season. And he was named a first-team tournament All-Star that year during the tournament. He was a first and second team All-NCAA West All-American. He's got All-Conference 3 times. Now, even more impressive, in 1996, he was a finalist for the Hobie Baker Award as the best college hockey player in the country. So if you're familiar with that award, I think 8 defensemen have won it in its history. They usually like to give it to the big point getters, you know, and the forwards that get all those points. And Keith also had I found this very impressive, 293 penalty minutes in 160 games. So I'm thinking he wasn't afraid to scrap it up. He's like a power forward, but on defense. And he would go on to rep Team USA twice, and he got a taste of the NHL with the Dallas Stars, picked up 4 games there, and played over in Germany there for a while too. So just a fantastic player. You can't have the school's best defensive player not on this list. So your thoughts on Keith, Jim?
You know, and he's another one like Doug Waite, that those guys would normally go to Michigan or Michigan State back in the day, but what we had built up there at Lake State, we were starting to get these guys like that. And he came right in, he had a good solid freshman year, but then his sophomore, junior, and senior year, he just tore it up. And again, like you said, to do what he did as a defenseman, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And he could kill penalties, he could do everything, throw the big check and all that. And another guy that you hear nothing but good things about, both on and off the ice. And that's another thing we prided ourselves on up at Lake State. You know what I mean? Is just being an all-around good human being. And that's what, Frank Anzalone built up there, and Jeff Jackson, and yeah, Keith Aldridge, I mean, a Laker through and through.
So let's move into our vote tonight. Guys cannot pick your own. Kevin, who are you taking?
I gotta go with our guest. I can't ignore the 274 points. That is that's pretty crazy. That's 70 more points than my guy, and only 10 more games. It's like 7 points a game.
Brian. Brian.
I'm gonna go with Aldridge on this one, man. I'm pretty impressed with being in those talks as a defenseman, as talks as one of the best players in the league. That's saying something there.
Rollo, can you hear me? You're up.
Yeah, normally I don't like picking the guests because I feel like I'm brown nosing. But in this instance, yeah, I got to go with the guest because the career points leader.
That's it, Rollo.
Right. Yeah. As for me, as a former defenseman, I would pick Aldridge, but I can't pick my own. So I got to go with Jim. Yeah, his point total is just kind of through the roof. I really do like Sean's goal numbers. I think it was very impressive what he did, but I got to give my vote to Jim. Jim, we come to you. You can pick any of them, including yourself. Who would you pick as the GOAT?
I'm not going to pick myself, man, but take myself out of the equation, man. That is really a tough one, but I love Madeley, but he only went 3 years. So now I got to narrow it down to, the guys that went 4 years. And that's like a toss up, man. This is like 50-50 right here. You know what I mean? It's I'm looking at both of these guys. It's incredible what they both did. But like you said, I mean, for Aldridge to do what he did on the defensive end, maybe that gives him a slight edge over Sean Tallaire there. So, and it's not just because of the points. It's not just because of the penalty minutes. It's just his overall play. And to do that as a D back in the day in the CCHA is incredible. So I'll have to go with Aldridge.
All right, 2 for Aldridge, 3 for Dowd. So win for Jim Dowd, the guest,
yes.
as the best player.
Brian's got to lose my number, man. Brian, lose my number.
So Brian, you got the win. You're gonna get first question in our Q&A, and then we'll go Kevin, Rollo, me.
All right. So Jim, Jacques Lemaire, he was your coach during much of your first stint with the New Jersey Devils, and then you rejoined him in Minnesota for a few seasons. So what was he like to play for, and did he change his approach any that you noticed from the time he was in New Jersey until the time he was in Minnesota?
Nope, not at all. Best coach ever. By far the best coach ever. He can come back right now in the NHL. You give him put him on the last place team. Whoever's in last place, they're gonna be way better. You give them some talent, they're going to be a playoff team. You give them a little bit more than some talent, they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender. By far the best coach. And he didn't waver. I played for him for almost half my career, 4 years in Minnesota, a few years there in Jersey. And when I went to the Wild, it was pretty funny. Played for him for 4 years there, and it was the same routine as we had in Jersey. You know what I mean? He'd just make the right hockey decisions. He just wanted to see hockey players. Off-ice testing. He didn't care about off-ice testing, any of that stuff. He wanted to see who could play hockey and just make the right decisions, and he was just so smart, and the way he carried himself, he was just, whether a ref made a good call or a bad call, even keel, just totally even keels. Practices were great. We didn't do a ton of film. You know what I mean? Films ruined hockey, in my opinion. I think film should be banned. from hockey. Only the coaches can watch it. It's, but he was great. We just did enough film where it wasn't bothersome. And he's, in my opinion, the best coach. Easily one of the top 3 coaches I've ever had, if he's the number one. But like I said, he's very smart. You know what I mean? And just again, like I said, the way he carries himself. And he's Jacques Lemaire, man. Look at his career. 12 years he played, 8 Stanley Cups as a player. Unbelievable.
So I got a question, not necessarily about, I guess, your career, but more about your legacy. I just want to say we are Penn State. Your kiddo playing on Penn State. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he owns the title for most assists by defenseman. I think he just passed Holt. He's not far from most points by defenseman. What does it mean to you to see your son out there playing for Penn State? And what do you think our chances are against Maine coming up in the first round of the NCAA tournament?
No, it's good. It's going to be amazing this Friday night in Allentown, PA, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I mean, Maine's had an incredible run. I think they only have 7 losses this year, and we've been literally the hottest team the second half of the season. So it makes for a good matchup. And if you look at Maine, they're pretty spread out. I mean, the scoring, they don't have anybody with over 40 points, but they have a bunch of guys with 35, 32, 30, like a very well-rounded team. And they just won Hockey East. That's not an easy feat to win any of these leagues, but they just won Hockey East. So, and again, coming in with only 7 losses, I think they have, and Penn State being one of the hottest teams. So it makes for a great matchup, and Mice, he loves it. He loves every second of his time at Penn State there, Jimmy Jr. So we're excited for this Friday.
Are you going to watch the match?
Of course. It's 114 miles from the house. Get there in 90 minutes.
There you go.
90-minute drive. Gotta love it.
Good, Rollo.
Hey, Jim, you scored your first career goal against the New Jersey Devils. Can you tell us what it was like scoring your first career goal against your hometown team? And, what do you remember about that goal?
My first NHL goal was actually with the Devils against the Quebec Nordiques up in Quebec against Jocelyn Thibault. Yeah. It was great, man. So my rook, I tell people, you just got to get in the loop somewhere. My first year pro, I got 1 game up in the NHL. I was Utica's leading scorer. My second year pro, got 1 game up. I was Utica's leading scorer again. Then my third year, I finally got up. And my first game, my third year, was in Quebec at the Colisée. And it scored from we did a little cycle play. I came back through the top, came down the middle, and Billy Guerin and Zelapukin connected with me, and I just top shelf over Jocelyn Thibault's glove hand. It was great. I'll never forget that. In Quebec, too, against the Nordiques. Love their old uniforms.
So the 2001 expansion Minnesota Wild. How did the fans react to hockey being back in Minnesota? Were the players treated well? Replacing the Minnesota North Stars. I realized it was a while later. And how did that come about for you that you found out you were going to be picked up by the expansion team?
Well, I was with the Edmonton Oilers the year before and was having a great year. And Doug Risebrough was with Edmonton, and then he had gotten the job as the Minnesota Wild, the year before they were officially a team, so he could start building a team. And I sort of knew if I was going to be exposed, they were going to pick me in the draft there and in the expansion draft. And it was amazing. You know what I mean? Actually, Jacques Lemaire called me the day of the draft, and we just started laughing because I hadn't talked to him since I was traded from the Devils, But it was great going to Minnesota. We lived in Woodbury, Minnesota. We were there for 4 years, was captain there. It was an amazing place to play hockey. Everyone asks us, 17 years, 10 teams all over the place. What was your favorite? I said, besides New Jersey, because we're from here, we live at the Jersey Shore. We live an hour south of Manhattan. So we grew up at the ocean and all that. If Minnesota had the ocean, we would have never left. We loved it there, every second of it. And great story. They forgot about the Minnesota North Stars real quick. I'll never forget our first exhibition game ever at the XL, ever. We're playing Anaheim Ducks, Mighty Ducks, whatever you called back then. And we come out to the lower bowl, standing ovation, not a seat in the place, to an exhibition game. You know what I mean? So since then, man, I think that they've sold out every game. But it's a great place to play. Was just out there with my youngest son, who's a sophomore at ASU. They just played Denver out there at the XL Energy Center. I mean, it's just an amazing place to play. Minnesota, it's the closest you're going to get to the atmosphere of Canada when you go watch some hockey. But again, loved our 4 years in Minnesota. It was great, and that's how I got there.
One more each, guys. Go ahead.
So, Jim, the 94-95 season, obviously very special for you and the New Jersey Devils, going all the way, winning the Stanley Cup. Looking at that NHL season itself, it was definitely far from ordinary, with the lockout lasting all the way into January. About half the games erased from the schedule. The Devils ended up finishing 4 games above 500, but then turned it on to the playoffs, going 16-4. So could you speak on some of the challenges the lockout presented for your club, and how were you guys able to overcome it and become champions?
Yeah, it was pretty weird. I remember that year, that was the first ever. And we had a group of guys that were skating every week. Every week we're like, okay, we're coming back next week. So we'd skate 2 or 3 more extra times. And okay, we're not coming back. We'd skate once or twice. Oh, we're coming back. Oh, we're going to miss it. But then when they figured everything out, we got back. We just didn't hit our stride. I think if you look at it, we came in 6th place. I think 6 out of 8 teams. And then, but the year before, we were obviously one of the best teams in the league. My rookie year there, when we lost to the Rangers in the conference final in '94, they went on to win the cup in 7 games against Vancouver. We knew we had the horses. We just, it was just all timing. You know what I mean? And we got hot at the right time, and we went into the playoffs healthy, and we just steamrolled everybody. And then we comes up to Detroit in the finals. They had won the President's Trophy that year. They were supposed to sweep us, quote unquote. And we were nervous, We went into Detroit, took first games 1 and games 2, and we just didn't let up on them. I mean, you look back on the roster they had, it was insane. But people forget that our roster was insane as well. You know what I mean? And then we just played as a team. We used everybody. We even used Chris Tallaire, our backup goalies. He played against Boston in the playoffs. Marty Brodeur, for some reason, just didn't play well against Boston. They sat Marty, put Tallaire in. He beats Boston. Marty goes back in. We had, 2 great goalies, 6 amazing D. I mean, listen, our quote unquote 6th defenseman was Tommy Madeley. I mean, he played freaking 15 years in the NHL. Our quote unquote 5th defenseman was Sean Chambers. Unbelievable. You got Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayer, Bruce Driver, who's the most underrated player of his whole career, and Kenny Danico. I mean, that's 6D right there that are insane. And the 4 lines that we had were you just kept coming, And then again, the way Lemaire coached and the way we did things, it was everything came together at the right time. But you got to have depth, you got to have no injuries, and have to this day, it doesn't matter what you do. The team with the most men on your team is going to win the Stanley Cup. And we had some guys that were beasts overall.
So I want to take you to your days in New Jersey. You pretty much came up around the same time as Brodeur. So what was the mindset in the locker room when Brodeur did come up, and did you guys realize that he would be the goalie? Like, did you guys think he'd be the goalie that he ended up being?
Well, you know what's funny? So we actually played our first NHL game together. My first year pro was 91, 92. So I got 1 game up that year. It was against the Boston Bruins, and that was actually Marty's first game. They called him up from juniors. Little trivia question, guys. What number did Marty Brodeur wear his first NHL game? Not the number that he wore his whole career, right? So, guys, I don't know if you know that one. Nobody knows that, huh? It's a good trivia question. So anyway, we came in together that year, and then he went back to juniors. I went back to the American League. And then the next year was his first official year pro. He spent the whole year in Utica with us. So we played together a full year in the minors. And then we both had gotten up the next year. But no one thought right off the bat he was going to be this top goaltenders of all time, breaking records, and they would change the rules because of him, but he just was at the right place at the right time with the right organization. And he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best. I mean? People say, oh, the teams he had, this and that. But if you look back when the Devils brought me back for the 06-07 season, right? My last year was 07-08 with the Flyers. When the Devils brought me back when I was 39 years old in 06-07, that's the year that he broke Bernie Perrant's single season wins record. And if you look at that team we had, on paper, that's not that good of a team. You know what I mean? Marty carried us. So as far as I'm concerned, he's arguably anyway, but he's the top goaltender of all time. There's only one record I think he doesn't hold, and that's playoff wins. Patrick Roy's got that. Other than that, he's got every single record, and they changed the rules because of him, which is one of the worst rules in hockey.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rollo. Oh, I'm in
Hey,
the
Jim,
okay.
I'm here. Hey,
Yep.
Jim, after the age of 31, you played till 39. You averaged 73 games a season, including 74 in your final season. What was your approach to making sure you were ready for the ice? And did you change anything as you got older to prepare yourself for games?
Well, yeah. So a lot of people don't know this, but when I was the easy part was getting to the NHL. People are like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Listen, I grew up in New Jersey. I was the best in youth hockey. Then I was the best in high school. You know, in the state. And then Lake State took a chance on me my senior year. Got a full ride. The Devils drafted me in the 8th round, which is like back then there were 12 rounds. They took a pick on this Jersey kid, and I just happened to keep progressing. So again, the easy part was getting to the NHL. I went to college. I was the best at Lake State, one of the best players in the country. I signed pro, one of the best players in the American League. I just kept progressing. Then I got up to the NHL. I had signed 2 nice contracts, won a Stanley Cup, was on top of the world. And at 27 years old, look at my career, I got sent back to the minors. And when you get sent back to the minors at 27 years old in the NHL, Major League Baseball, you're done. You're not getting back. NFL, NBA, there were no minor leagues back then. I had all these teams from Europe calling us. We could have made great money. But I said to my wife, we had just gotten married. I didn't have any kids yet. We were playing in Hamilton, Ontario, Edmonton Oilers farm team. I said, listen, honey, I don't know how we're gonna, but we're gonna get back. I go, listen, if we don't, we'll give it one more year. We're only 27 years old. If we don't make it back to the NHL, we'll only be 28. Then we'll go to Europe, play as long as we can, and save some money. She's like, no problem. About a month and a half into that season, that's when we got into the whole nutrition, the eat right, feel a blood type diet, supplementation, and all that. And I went from 192 pounds in 1 month, 30 days, down to 182 pounds. I cut out all the BS, all the extracurriculars. I was quicker, stronger, faster. I finished that year out in Edmonton's farm team, and then I trained all summer. I got up at 5:30 every morning. I went to the gym from 6 to 7:30 with a trainer. Didn't talk to anybody, and I went to Edmonton's camp, made the team, and I spent the next 12 straight years without a day in the minors. I'm a firm believer. You get your mind right, your body right through proper nutrition. Forget hockey. Life in general works hell of a lot better. Now, my wife, we've had a nutrition company for 11 years. It's a passion of mine. But to answer your question, Rollo, that's it. You know what I mean? I just was on a mission, and I got my mind right, my body right through proper nutrition, first of all. And that was it. I didn't put a bad thing in my body for the last 12 years of my career. I was focused and driven. I'm like, I went from the penthouse to the outhouse at 27, and then to go from 12 straight years without a day in the minors, that's the one thing I'm probably most proud of, besides winning the Stanley Cup with my hometown team.
So your final season in the NHL, you're 39/40 years old
40,
there
yeah.
for the Philadelphia Flyers. You guys have just a fantastic season and a fantastic playoff run, making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. You lose to a very young Sidney Crosby and company there. So, like, what went right for that team that season? I mean, I knew you guys were good, but I didn't think you were going to be that good. And what was it like getting that one last shot at the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, that was great. So the Devils, I was with them 06, 07. And then, Lou Lamoriello called me in after we lost in the second round to Ottawa. He calls me and he wanted me to start working for the organization. Like, Lou, I still want to play one more year. You know what I mean? Blah, 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 as long as I can. Long story short, I ended up going to Philadelphia's camp because I knew they tried to trade for me 2 years before that, or the year before. And I went to camp without a contract. I go and make the team because Paul Holmgren said, "Listen, Jimmy, we're over the cap, but if you come in and do what you do, I'll get you a contract somehow." Because they were looking for a right-handed centerman, journeyman that could do a little bit of everything, be a leader. Because that year before, if you look at the standings in 06, 07, the Flyers came in dead last in the Eastern Conference. And then 07, 08, I go to training camp, I make the team out of camp, and we just had the best group, the best mixture, and we got hot. And John Stevens was the head coach, Terry Murray assistant, Jack McElhargy, Joey Mullen. We had a great group of guys. We had a great group of veterans, and then the younger guys and the middle-aged guys. That was, excuse me, Upshaw, Lupul, Carter, Richards, Hartnell. The list goes on and on. The younger guys. Sorry about that. And then we just had a great run. And then that last series there, though, Braden Colburn went down and Chemo Tiemann, and that was 2 huge losses for us on the back end. And we ended up losing to the Penguins in 5 games. But that's one of my favorite years playing hockey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yep. Anytime, guys. Thanks a lot, man.
Remind everybody, hit that like, subscribe, notification button. We'll see everybody next time. Have a great night.